Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Tonight, I just want to reflect on the faithfulness of God in the midst of such a trying and difficult season. I know all of us have been stressed and anxious for whatever reason. And on Monday, we did some breath prayer, and that just really helps combat my anxiety when I cultivate gratitude and I remember to lean on the provision of the Lord. Today, what I have been really meditating on is the hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness. And it is one of my favorite hymns. It's written by Thomas Chisholm, who was born in 1866. And he was born in Kentucky. And Thomas Chisholm was a writer of poetry and sent a collection of his poems, including this one, to his friend who was at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. While on a trip to Kansas, his friend who was in Moody Bible Institute, who received the poems, was immediately taken aback by the poem that his friend had written called Great is Thy Faithfulness. And out of this poem came the hymn. And I just want to read you the verses, the lyrics to the hymn. This is a hymn that has been sung at our wedding. This is a hymn that has been sung on really important days of ministry, and it's probably my favorite hymn, one of them. So here are the lyrics. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. Summer and winter, and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. And I've been thinking about it all day for so many reasons. One, it is truly incredible, the ministry that continues to happen at our church and in Billings, despite so many setbacks, division, arguing over masks, arguing over politics, this horrible pandemic. There have been so many reasons that ministry probably shouldn't have happened, but God is faithful and things continue to thrive, and I am so grateful. God has been so faithful to Russ and I in our marriage and in bringing us to Billings and knowing exactly what we needed before we even needed it. And I am overwhelmed with joy to report that as of 8 p.m. tonight, I have an ordination time and date, which after 2 cancellations of ordination ceremonies and 10 years in the making, this is a time to sing Great is Thy Faithfulness. So my ordination will be Saturday, October 30th at 1 p.m. in Billings, Montana at First United Methodist Church. So the good news is it's in Billings, and we can have a big party and celebration at church the next day. The bad news is they are limiting it to only a few folks that are allowed to be at the actual ceremony. So my guess is it'll probably be live streamed and maybe everyone can watch it at Hope. But when I look back on my faith journey, as we all look back on our faith journeys. And I look back and think about when I first started ministry, and even before that, when I first accepted Jesus, and even before that, like when I, first was coming to church, as a really little baby. God has been so faithful in my life. God has put people to support me and love me and challenge me in my faith. And every time I look back, whether it was a difficult season or a joyful season, the hand of God and the fingerprints of God have been in everything. And I know we can all say that God has been so faithful to us throughout COVID. And there were so many times where we were nervous about finances, or we were nervous about community and isolation, or how we were going to do this thing called church. And God walked us through. And God was with us through all of it, just kind of holding our hand and reminding us that everything was going to be okay. And so, the hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness, always reminds me of the story in the Bible when Samuel makes the Ebenezer stone and as an altar to the Lord. And I think about that concept of Ebenezer's in the Old Testament and how it's a stone of remembrance, of remembering the faithfulness of God, that God will get us through, because as humans, we quite often forget. And so my devotion for you tonight, whether you had a really exciting day like me and you finally got your ordination date, or some other good piece of news that has been 10 years in the making, or whether you're struggling right now, I think it's just really important to look back on your story and see how God has been faithful to you, because I guarantee He has. I guarantee He has. Even in the midst of pain and suffering and sadness, God is still there, and God is still faithful and present. And so I want to leave you with this. And these are words written by Sandra McCracken, who is a songwriter from Nashville, Tennessee. And she's kind of reflecting on the hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness. The hymn and the verse, there is no shadow of turning with Thee. We try to make sense and find meaning in the patterns of life, cycles and seasons that pull us back and forth. We are tossed habitually by life's waves and occasionally realigned. People come and go in our lives. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest. We cannot see the whole picture, but God pursues us in our seeking, earnest in meeting us in our sorrow and poised to celebrate with us in our joy. God is our only constant. He is the unchangeable centerpiece, holding all things together. He holds our life circumstances. He is holding the chaos of this world. He is holding our hearts, holding us. In all things, He works for our good and for His glory. But this truth is progressively revealed, even as it is sure. Truth comes to us, but not all at once. The answers sometimes move painfully and articulate slowly. Singing the faith declaration, and great is Thy faithfulness, with honesty, is delicate work. I think you can almost hear the evidence of fragility and vulnerability in the sound of the recording. But there is strength there too. I can recount 1,000 mercies of God in my life, and I'm sure you can too. And many of God's richest mercies have come in the hardest times. I look back on my story from start to finish, that God has been so good to me. He comes to meet me like Jesus at the tomb of Lazarus, calling Mary outside and weeping when He sees her face. He's ready to meet us with the sorrowful embrace of a friend. He's ready to meet us in the boat, waking from sleep in the middle of a chaotic storm, saying, peace. And He is ready to meet us in the heat of the battle, saying, I will fight for you, if only you be still. God is great. God is faithful, and God's love is set upon us. So blessings to you all. Remember, great is Thy faithfulness, O God, Thy Father. I love you all, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.